Hey, welcome to the Way congregation. At least I think we're live. Yeah, we're live. Okay, sorry. I'm getting this error message. We're not live. We're not live. Something is not right. But anyway, we're live, and apparently Facebook's not connecting. Sorry. Hey guys, so glad we can be with you and that you can be with us. Of course, as you know, this is the Way Wednesdays virtual Midrash. And I have a bunch of announcements because many cool things are coming up. So 2 weekends from now, man, it's only like 1 weekend, come to think of it, 1.5. We'll call it a deal. So May 23rd, 1 to 6 p.m., it's going to be at O'Kane Park in Lakewood. Yes, you're invited to the Shavuot celebration. We're going to have fun. We're going to have food. We're going to have picnic, games, fellowship. So you are most definitely invited. Then we're going to have Proclaim the Way June 6th. Boy, that's going to be a wonderful conference. It's a webinar, virtual conference. So you can't say, well, I can make it. Yes, you can. You can definitely make it. I guarantee it. So go to the Commonwealth of Israel, commonwealthofisrael.com, and you can get more information on that. And we have more, but wait, there's more. Then we have Sukkot with the Way. I think you know the dates, September 20th through the 27th. It's going to be in beautiful Elizabeth. That's where Gary lives, and it's gorgeous. I guess after that, I won't be able to pick on him anymore about living close to Kansas. But beautiful, beautiful place. So even if you're not part of our normal fellowship on Shabbat, maybe you're watching live, come join us. We'd like to hang out with you. If you're part of that e-community, the virtual community, stop being virtual and come hang out with us. We think that'd be pretty awesome. And one more announcement, and that is this Friday, we are starting Friday night worship. We're going to soak in God's shalom and joy. So we hope that you can make it. It'll be at the church in Lakewood. So that'll be great. Well, Gary, you're laughing. You don't like my graphic. I'm
joyous.
You're joyous.
I'm experiencing shalom and joy.
There you go. Well, if you have,
I'm having a good time. No,
if you have peace and joy, you've got it all, man. If you got peace and joy, you are a rich man. Isn't that right?
You are a rich man. Absolutely.
I'll tell you.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Great to see you tonight, Doug.
You too, man.
And great to see everybody online. Hey.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. As we go through the portion, be sure to interact with us. Ask us questions. Put question at the beginning of your comments so it's easy to pick out. And it's always nice to interact and hear what you all have to say and questions you have. And the scripture we're diving into tonight has lots of questions. At least lots of questions from, as I was reading through this, it's like, some of these passages, especially the first couple chapters of Numbers, it's like, they're not kidding when they're talking about numbers. It's like, okay, there is a lot of numbers here. Let's jump into that and see how to sort out those numbers.
Let's do it. All right. Well, we start off. Now the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the tabernacle of meeting on the first day of the second month in the second year after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel by their families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male individually, from 20 years old and above, all who are able to go to war in Israel. You and Aaron shall number them by their armies. And with you there shall be a man from every tribe, each one the head of his father's house. These are the names of the men who shall stand with you: from Reuben, Eleazar, the son of Shedeur; from Simeon, Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai; from Judah, Nachshon, the son of Aminadav; from Issachar, Netanel, the son of Zual; from Zebulun, Eliav, the son of Helon; from the sons of Joseph, from Ephraim, Elishama, the son of Amihud; from Manasseh, Gamaliel, the son of Pedasur; from Benjamin, Avidan, the son of Gideoni; from Dan, Ahiezer, the son of Amishadai; from Asher, Pagiel, the son of Okran; from Gad, Eliasaph, the son of Deuel; From Naphtali, Ahira the son of Enan. These were chosen from the congregation, leaders of their fathers' tribes, heads of the divisions in Israel. Then Moses and Aaron took these men who had been mentioned by name, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they recited their ancestry by families, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, each one individually. As the Lord commanded Moses, so he numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. Now the children of Reuben, Israel's oldest son, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names, every male individually from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Reuben were 46,500. From the children of Simeon, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, of those who were numbered according to the number of names, every male individually from 20 years old and above, who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Simeon were 59,300. From the children of Gad, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Gad were 45,650. From the children of Judah, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Judah were 75,600. From the children of Issachar, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Issachar were 54,400. From the children of Zebulun, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Zebulun were 57,400. From the sons of Joseph, the children of Ephraim, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Ephraim were 40,500. From the children of Manasseh, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Manasseh were 32,200. From the children of Benjamin, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Benjamin were 35,400. From the children of Dan, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Dan were 62,700. From the children of Asher, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Asher were 41,500. From the children of Naphtali, their genealogies by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. Those who were numbered of the tribe of Naphtali were 53,400. These are the ones who were numbered, whom Moses and Aaron numbered with the leaders of Israel, 12 men, each one representing his father's house. So all who were numbered of the children of Israel by their father's houses from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war in Israel, all who were numbered were 603,550. But the Levites were not numbered among them by their father's tribe. For the Lord had spoken to Moses, saying, only the tribe of Levi you shall not number, nor take a census of them among the children of Israel, but you shall appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of testimony, over all its furnishings, and over all things that belong to it. They shall carry the tabernacle and all its furnishings. They shall attend to it and camp around the tabernacle. And when the tabernacle is to go forward, the Levites shall take it down. And when the tabernacle is to be set up, the Levites shall set it up. The outsider who comes near shall be put to death. The children of Israel shall pitch their tents, everyone by his own camp, everyone by his own standard, according to their armies. But the Levites shall camp around the tabernacle of the testimony, that there may be no wrath on the congregation of the children of Israel. And the Levites shall keep charge of the tabernacle of the testimony. Thus the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So they did. All right. Your turn to talk.
I tell you, I am always thankful when you read. Yeah, I mean, that's just a lot of detail and a lot of difficult names, and you do a great job. So I'm always thankful when you step up to read like that. Thank you very much. You deliver me. Well,
you'd think that they could just put a colon, like, okay, everybody from here on out is just going to be 20 years old and above, all can go to war, where it would have saved a lot of ink and of course a lot of parchment as well.
but what's so fascinating is that God spares so many words in the scriptures. It's like this is not a for God's instructions. Every word is important. We may not quite get how every word is important, but every word is important. And so why the repetition and things like that? There's something there that's a meaning and a purpose. I'm convinced. I don't necessarily know what the meaning and purpose is. Why couldn't he just, it's like, okay, why do we have to say, these are men of war every time? But as I think about it, there may be something there, because it's describing this purpose for everybody. It's not ambiguous, I should say. We're not just counting these men 20 years old and older for just any reason. And if he said for all the tribes, 20 years and older, we'll count them and then we'll list the numbers, maybe. But, I guess it's important not to be ambiguous. We will find a way out of it.
What I think of is the legal documents you sign when you buy a house or a car or something.
Yes.
There's all that verbiage, do I really have to look at all this stuff? And, at least what I do is, I kind of skim it and then I'm like, okay, yeah. And I'll just initial it, which you really shouldn't be doing, right? But, it's kind of like, okay, it's all this legalese, but I know it has a purpose, right? That's the point. Yes. And I think we often come to, the first 5 books and say, well, this should just be, really fun prose. This should be a novel that I get to read. And please don't waste my time with these details. Right. But that's not the purpose of the Torah, of the first 5 books. The purpose is, well, it's a history on the one hand, but it's also a legal document, if you will. Right? This is a very important document. And so it needs to be spelled out. Here's who we're talking about. Here are the numbers that we're talking about, so that officially, and you can't say, well, did you mean, was everybody of 20 years old and above that was able to go to war? Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. And, so I think we can kind of get into this me-centric type of thing. If it's not relevant to me, then it's not relevant at all. But, maybe it's not relevant to us today in our lives, but throughout the last 3,000 some years, it's had great relevance, and it still will have great relevance as time goes on, even if it's not to me today.
And even if we shift the context of the war that these guys were experiencing in terms of getting ready to enter into the land and such, we have a different war. Paul describes that our battle is not of flesh and blood, but of powers and principalities. And yet I don't know that we readily say, okay, well, I have a responsibility. I have this to stand up and be counted to go to war, and certainly not as a collective. I think maybe we take on that responsibility and say, I'm a prayer warrior, but what about the guy next to you? And what about the guy, in your family or in your camp or in your church or your fellowship? Are they in the same spiritual battle with you? And that's certainly an aspect of this, calling out people by the tribes. But before we get there, I think the first thing that struck me, and it is a question I had, Doug, was they called out kind of the leaders of the clans, right? Mm-hmm. Of the tribe of Joseph, the son of so and so, and it always interests me is how leadership gets defined. I think that's an important aspect that in our contemporary days is, how do we define our leaders? What attributes set these people up as leaders? So if you say tribe of Judah, I think they had 72,000. What made that one guy stand out as the leader of that clan? And that's just the,
Right.
So what do you think? What sets these guys apart as leaders?
It's interesting. I mean, it's the word there in Hebrew is rosh, right? So it's the head.
The head. Mm-hmm.
So I get the sense that it was some kind of a, whoever was the oldest member of the clan, right? And not just by age, but somebody who is known as the patriarch of this, right? So you go obviously from Judah, and then whoever then comes after. And we see often that it's not always about, who is the firstborn. Sometimes it is, but, in the case of Jacob choosing out of his 12 sons, the oldest disqualified himself, right? Reuben went to his father's bed and disqualified himself. And then Simeon and Levi, they were hot-blooded, and, they slaughtered everybody in Shechem. And so that disqualified them. And so then it falls to Judah. Judah was no saint, let me tell you, but he wasn't as bad as those other guys. And so then it falls to him. But it's also interesting that we see there's a few passages in Scripture where we get the sense that Joseph is the head, and, for obvious reasons, but, so it is a little bit tricky. And I think it's partly based on sort of who's next in line, but then it's also meritocracy, right? It's who deserves it and who will actually get to have that post. Because Reuben should have been the top dog, but he clearly wasn't.
Right.
And it passed to Judah and to some degree Joseph. And then we see that that's really what happened, right? As then when the nation is split, it's split between Judah and Joseph, right? So Ephraim, which is a nickname, it's another name for Joseph. These are the two kingdoms, So it's really interesting, just to put that in perspective.
Yeah, it always intrigues me. It's like, who do I look at as people that I look up to, that I think have wisdom, that I would want to learn from, and what attributes do I want to display to others, that they would come to look to me for advice and counsel and see me as a leader, and make sure that I'm walking in a path that would bring respect and godly counsel, I guess. So age is certainly part of it. I think it mellows people, gives them wisdom and perspective and experience. But I know I've known a lot of old folks that I don't look to for respect. So,
right.
So anyway,
you would hope that we'd all be amazingly wise by the time we get older, but sometimes we don't always get there.
It's always a work in progress.
Yes, that's true. Very true. Yeah. Wait, chapter 2. Chapter 2 is calling us. So, and the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, every one of the children of Israel shall camp by his own standard beside the emblems of his father's house. They shall camp some distance from the tabernacle of meeting, on the east side toward the rising of the sun. Those of the standard of the forces with Judah shall camp according to their armies. And Nachshon, the son of Aminadav, shall be the leader of the children of Judah. And his army was numbered at 74,600. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar, and Netanel, the son of Zual, shall be the leader of the children of Issachar. And his army was numbered at 54,400. Then comes the tribe of Zebulun, and Eliab, the son of Helon, shall be the leader of the children of Zebulun. And his army was numbered at 57,400. All who are numbered according to their armies of the forces with Judah, 186,400. These shall break camp first. On the south side shall be the standard of the forces with Reuben according to their armies, and the leader of the children of Reuben shall be Elizur, the son of Shedeur, and his army was numbered at 46,500. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Simeon, and the leader of the children of Simeon shall be Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai, and his army was numbered at 59,300. Then comes the tribe of Gad, and the leader of the children of Gad shall be Eliasaph, the son of Reuel, and his army was numbered at 45,650. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces with Reuben 151,450, they shall be the second to break camp. And the tabernacle of meeting shall move out with the camp of the Levites. In the middle of the camps as they camp, so they shall move out, everyone in his place by their standards. On the west side shall be the standard of the forces with Ephraim according to their armies. And the leader of the children of Ephraim shall be Elishama, the son of Amihud, and his army was numbered at 45,500. Next to him comes the tribe of Manasseh, and the leader of the children of Manasseh shall be Gamaliel, the son of Pedahzur, and his army was numbered at 32,200. Then comes the tribe of Benjamin, and the leader of the children of Benjamin shall be Avidan, the son of Gideoni, and his army was numbered at 35,400. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces with Ephraim, 180,100, they shall be the third to break camp. The standard of the forces with Dan shall be on the north side according to their armies, and the leader of the children of Dan shall be Achiezer, the son of Ammishaddai, and his army was numbered at 62,700. Those who break camp next to him shall be the tribe of Asher, and the leader of the children of Asher shall be Pagiel, the son of Okran, and his army was numbered at 41,500. Then comes the tribe of Naphtali, and the leader of the children of Naphtali shall be Ahira, the son of Enan, and his army was numbered at 53,400. All who were numbered with the forces with Dan were 157,600. They shall break camp last with their standards. These are the ones who were numbered of the children of Israel by their fathers' houses. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces were 603,550. But the Levites were not numbered among the children of Israel, just as the Lord commanded Moses. Thus the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So they camped by their standards, and so they broke camp, each one by his family, according to their fathers' houses. Really interesting, how this is set up. Now, I don't know where you stand on this, but I've heard it taught, and I'm not quite persuaded that somehow, in this particular formation, you have the form of a cross. I think it's kind of Christian fancy, in my opinion. But this is, I've heard this teaching a number of times, and that, when King Balak and Balaam looked over, they saw the shape of a cross. I don't know.
I think if you were to take the numbers as they are, mm-hmm. and set up a chair for every person in a straight line in a straight row, and had everybody sit in those chairs, you'd have something that sort of took the semblance of a cross shape, just by the numbers. More at the east, and if you're at the west, and at the north and the south, they'd be a little longer. But that's not the way people work. And you didn't have a bunch of chairs.
Yeah, you could have arranged it so that it could have been.
You could have arranged it, yes. I think the numbers kind of work out that way. And if you set it up that way, then I think you can get there. But I'm not sure that's what God had in mind. And I certainly don't think that's the way it played out in practicality. I think it was much more a mishmash and just a general organization. Kind of, this is your neighborhood, this is my neighborhood. We'll set up camps here, and again, I think there's a rhyme and a reason behind that. There's camaraderie, and I don't want to confuse that with cliquishness, because I think those two. I think that there's a fine line between those two. It's like, oh, my group, but not your group. And I think that's what we find ourselves doing more often than not. It's like, oh, I'm part of this group, but not that group. And gossip starts back and forth. And I think that's kind of human nature, and it probably happened then. But at the same time, you had your tribe that you were part of. And kind of going back to the census, it's like, this is the count out of this tribe, and it's they're part of a whole they're a collective, but at the same time, they're individuals. And I love the dynamic, up until the divided kingdom, of course. I love the dynamic of how Israel works together, especially as they go into the land. And, is it tribe of Gad and Manasseh, or half tribe of Manasseh, and who are the other ones that stayed on the east of the Jordan? They went in and fought with their brothers. They definitely saw that they were part of the whole. And even then, there was, it's like, we don't want you out there because we're afraid that you're going to be separated and think of yourself differently. No, we'll come down to the feast. No, it was very much a part of that. Yeah. And I really like the sense of community, the sense of togetherness that is defined in the Torah. And I would love to see how that plays out in the church. And we were talking about this last Shabbat during Oneg time. It's hard to have this sense of community because we're the way congregation, we're spread out geographically. I'm probably southeastmost, and I know that Phil and Sally are probably northmost up in Fort Collins. I mean, that's over 100 miles spread between our place and theirs, and all places in between. Not to mention our e-community. So we're brought together by what the way is, and the teachings of the way, and the worship of the way, and we're brought together each Shabbat for the fellowship. But it's hard to sustain and grow real bonds when we meet only on Shabbat or we meet virtually. And God, I don't think, really intended it that way. And so we have to make a special effort, I believe, that one, recognize that we have an opportunity. And I think God's showing us this opportunity to be a part of something and a part of a bigger something, and the benefits of that. Then we have to have a willingness to want to put out the extra effort that it takes to get out of my chair and travel to come to be part of the collective, to come to Shabbat, to come to the other meetings and gatherings, to come to Shavuot. We have to have a willingness to actually move our feet and do that. So we have the opportunity. We have to have a willingness. I think part of it, and kind of where I struggle, is that we should have a willingness, but overriding our willingness too should be a sense of responsibility. That if I count myself, right? This is all about counting. So if you are counted as in the body of Messiah, if you count yourself as being in the body of Messiah, you should understand that not only should you be willing, but you have a responsibility to be in the fellowship. You may not like everybody in the fellowship. You may not agree with everybody in the fellowship. I'm sure that was true in all of the tribes. It's like, oh man, do I have to stay in this encampment? Can I go over to my buddy, Simeon, or can I go back with Gad? I really like those people over there. Those Gadites, man, they got it going on. Like, no, you camp here. It's like you have the responsibility to your community. And I see that in people church shopping, right? So we go and it's like, oh, I don't like the way they play music. I don't like the way their oneg is. I don't like that they have to wear masks. I don't like that, whatever it is that causes you. I don't like their teaching. It causes you to jump from one church to another, never being satiated, never being satisfied, always thinking the grass is greener on the other side, when it's like you've been counted. Pick this one, show some responsibility, and dig in and do it. And it's not always going to be pleasant. But I tell you, when it is pleasant, when it is, how good and how pleasant it is, when brethren dwell together, then it is awesome. But so as a culture, we channel surf. We don't like something, we click to something else, and we do it. We do it in our gathering together as well. And it's sad to see. I don't know what the fix is for that, other than to suck it up and say, okay, I'm going to actually display some loyalty. I'm going to display some responsibility. If I don't like it, I'm going to bring my criticisms or my constructive feedback. I used to work for a woman who she was always willing to listen to complaints, but she always said, if you're going to bring me a problem, then bring me a solution too. And it may not be the perfect solution. It might not be the solution that gets picked, but at least it makes you think through something besides, I don't like this. And then just leave it at the feet of leadership. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that? Because I may have somebody telling me the exact opposite, that you just said you don't like this, but I like that. And instead of being able to juggle those types of things. So being able to come with your ideas, and not just criticisms, but constructive criticism and solutions on how to make life better, or how to get along better with people, or how to, whatever the situation happens to be.
What's really amazing, Gary, is that for about 450 years, the nation of Israel stayed together without a king. That's quite a testimony that they were able to do that. I mean, the United States, we are not even 300, right? Something like that.
Right.
1776, right? So we're just pushing 250 years here. And we're doing okay, right? I mean, we're hanging in there, but we have a whole system of government. But think about God established that system of government, right? This is all the stuff that's kind of going on behind the scenes. So it's not just counting people, right? God is establishing a government that's going to operate when Moses isn't there, when God is not talking to them every day. And so that they would survive. And it did until they, finally got a king with Saul, etc. And, and so it did pretty well, all things considered, despite not having a centralized power. It's really, I think, amazing.
Yeah. And I think early on in the United States, we certainly had we were more in touch with each other. And I think we see this too in smaller communities, where you have a sense of you're part of something. I think it's when you get into bigger cities and you have more choices, or more distractions, or whatever it happens to be, that people have a tendency to be a little more prone to move on rather than trying to work through problems in a small community. Unless you physically get up and move, sell your house, lock, stock, and barrel, and move your children and your livelihood and everything else, makes it a little more difficult. There's something to be said for not making things so convenient. That makes us kind of pull up our bootstraps and solve problems rather than move away from them.
Yeah, well said. Well, hey, let's get into chapter 3. More exciting stuff. Now, these are the records of Aaron and Moses when the Lord spoke with Moses on Mount Sinai. And these are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadav, the firstborn, and Avihu, Eleazar, and Itamar. These are the names of the sons of Aaron, the anointed priests, whom he consecrated to minister as priests. Nadav and Abihu had died before the Lord when they offered profane fire before the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no children. So Eleazar and Itamar ministered as priests in the presence of Aaron their father. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Bring the tribe of Levi near and present them before Aaron the priest, that they may serve him. And they shall attend to his needs and the needs of the whole congregation before the tabernacle meeting, to do the work of the tabernacle. Also they shall attend to all the furnishings of the tabernacle of meeting and to the needs of the children of Israel, to do the work of the tabernacle. And you shall give the Levites to Aaron and his sons. They are given entirely to him from among the children of Israel. So you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall attend to their priesthood. But the outsider who comes near shall be put to death. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Now behold, I myself have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel, instead of every firstborn who opens the womb among the children of Israel. Therefore the Levites shall be mine, because all the firstborn are mine. On the day that I struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified to myself all the firstborn in Israel, both man and beast. They shall be mine. I am the Lord. When the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, saying, Number the children of Levi by their fathers' houses, by their families, you shall number every male from a month old and above. So Moses numbered them according to the word of the Lord, as he was commanded. These were the sons of Levi by their names, Gershon, Kohath, Merari. And these are the names of the sons of Gershon by their families, Livni and Shimei. And the sons of Kohath by their families, Amram, Izehar, Hebron, and Uzziel. And the sons of Merari by their families, Mahli and Mushi. These are the families of the Levites by their fathers' houses. From Gershon came the family of the Libnites and the family of the Shemites. These are the families of the Gershonites. Those who were numbered according to the number of all the males from a month old and above. Of those who were numbered, there were 7,500. The families of the Gershonites were to camp behind the tabernacle westward. And the leader of the father's house of the Gershonites was Eliasaph, the son of Lael. The duties of the children of Gershon of the tabernacle of meeting included the tabernacle, the tent, and with its covering, the screen for the door of the tabernacle of meeting, the screen for the door of the court, the hangings of the court which are around the tabernacle and the altar, and their cords according to all the work relating to them. From Kohath came the family of the Amramites, the family of the Izharites, the family of the Hebronites, and the family of the Uzzielites. These were the families of the Kohathites. According to the number of all the males from a month old and above, these were 8,600, keeping charge of the sanctuary. The families of the children of Kohath were to camp on the south side of the tabernacle. And the leader of the father's house of the families of the Kohathites was Elizaphan of the son of Uzziel. Their duty included the ark, the tabernacle, the lampstand, the altars, the utensils of the sanctuary, with which they ministered, the screen, and all the work relating to them. And Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, was to be chief over the leaders of the Levites, with oversight of those who kept charge of the sanctuary. From Merari came the family of the Mahlites and the family of the Mushites. These are the families of Merari. And those who were numbered according to the number of all the males from a month old and above were 6,200. The leader of the father's house of the families of Merari was Zuriel, the son of Abihail. These were to camp on the north side of the tabernacle, and the appointed duty of the children of Merari included the boards of the tabernacles, its bars, its pillars, its sockets, its utensils, all the work relating to them, and the pillars of the court all around, with their sockets, their pegs, and their cords. Moreover, those who were to camp before the tabernacle on the east, before the tabernacle of meeting, was Moses, Aaron, and his sons, keeping charge of the sanctuary to meet the needs of the children of Israel. But the outsider who came near was to be put to death. All who were numbered of the Levites, whom Moses and Aaron numbered at the commandment of the Lord, by their families, all the males from a month old and above, were 22,000. Then the Lord said to Moses, Number all the firstborn males of the children of Israel from a month old and above, and take the number of their names, and you shall take the Levites for me, I am the Lord, instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the livestock of the Levites, instead of all the firstborn among the livestock of the children of Israel. So Moses numbered all the firstborn among the children of Israel, as the Lord commanded him, and all the firstborn males according to the number of names, from a month old and above, of those who were numbered of them, were 22,273. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the livestock instead of their livestock. The Levites shall be mine. I am the Lord. And for the redemption of the 273 of the firstborn of the children of Israel, who are more than the number of the Levites, you shall take 5 shekels for each one individually. You shall take them in the currency of the shekel of the sanctuary, the shekel of 20 gerahs. And you shall give the money with which the excess number of them is redeemed to Aaron and his sons. So Moses took the redemption money from those who were over and above those who were redeemed by the Levites. From the firstborn of the children of Israel, he took the money, 1,365 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. And Moses gave their redemption money according to Aaron and his sons, according to the word of the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. So, there we see that this is a legal document, right? What I love about God is that, he does it by the book. All right. And I have to admit, I'm not a guy that does it by the book, because I get tired with taxes and I'm like, does it really matter? Yes, it matters. Okay. All right. That's not my cup of tea. Right. But I appreciate that God is not cutting corners. He's not, bending the rules. And so there had to be an accurate count of the children of Israel, because now he's going to do a swap, right? And this needs to be a fair exchange. And so the exchange has to be accurate. He has to know exactly how many you have of the general population, so that now you can swap out the Levites for them. And another thing I noticed is that, where the Levites are camping, they're also, the four of them are in a section, right? So they're in those same subsections that the larger population is. And that's really going to be their whole purpose, is they're going to be helpers, civil servants. They're the guys that know the law. They're your local lawyers, right? These are the people that kind of do these professional services type things. And so these are the guys to go to. And so they're going to have a very important part in a society. And you think about it, no society can run without its civil servants. And sometimes I hear people say, I don't want to pay taxes. You're going to pay taxes to the government. I think that's bunk, quite frankly. And I'm not that I enjoy paying taxes, but I believe in the principle of paying taxes. I don't like it any more than the next guy, but I believe in the principle of paying taxes. And so therefore I will pay my taxes, because you know what? If my house should catch fire, I'm glad that the fire department is going to come. A couple years ago, my oldest daughter had an accident, and she was in pain, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, how to tend to her needs. I was just crying. That's all I could do, because she was in pain. But it was so comforting to hear those sirens pull up to my house, and men who were trained at this, they came and they took care of her. They were able to help her in her distress. They were able to give her the medication that would, again, bring her relief. And then they took her to people that, knew how to fix her. And so I tell you, that was a huge blessing. And, part of our taxes go toward things like that. I once heard somebody say, I shouldn't pay taxes. And I'm like, what if your house catches fire? I'll just put it out myself. I was just thinking, wow, what an idiot, really, what an idiot. To think that you're going to put out your own fire, maybe if it's a tiny itsy bitsy fire, but they spread quickly, as I recall. And the fire department's pretty handy, so this is part of something that God wove into the fabric of the society, is the civil servant. And so they're not out working the fields. That's not their job. They're not out doing the regular stuff, but their job is to be the civil servants of the society. And talk about foresight. I mean, God really knew what he was doing.
Oh, absolutely. And even more so, he didn't give them a plot of land when they went to go into the promised land. They were distributed amongst all the tribes, so that each tribe would then have their go-to group of people, their lawyers, their teachers, the ones who would administer the God's instructions and make sure that nobody was left out. I love the imagery of how the Mishkan is the center of the camp, and then the priests and the Levites, the ones who administer and perform the function of the tabernacle in the wilderness, were surrounding it, and then surrounding that were the people. But everything points back to the middle. And that was essentially the priest's function as they were to enter into the land, was to make sure that everything still pointed back to wherever the ark rested, whether it was in Shechem, Shiloh, or ultimately Jerusalem. That people would understand when the pilgrimages were, that they would go up and offer sacrifices, what they were supposed to bring, how they were supposed to tithe, how to settle matters of dispute, and so on and so forth. And it is such a necessary function for that governance structure to be in place. It's real easy to to see how politics gets corrupted or jaded, or has their own interests at heart, or they don't represent your political views but somebody else's, and it's real easy to get upset and disgusted with that whole process. But in God's economy, it's really intended to be and incepted as a truly godly model that, like you said, worked for a number of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I love that picture, right? You have a bullseye of the Mishkan. God is at the center of this society. What a beautiful picture that is, right? Mm-hmm. That that he's supposed to be at the center of this whole thing, and that you're to gravitate toward him. Like, that's the center of the society. That's a beautiful picture for us too. The center of our society ought to be, it often isn't, but the center ought to be God. And this is one reason that we come together. We're commanded to come together, to not forsake the assembling of ourselves together, right, as is the manner of some, but all the more so as you see the day approaching, right? So if we talk about how, the Lord's coming back, I agree, right? He's coming back soon. I agree. Things are getting ugly. I agree. So I'm going to head to the hills. I don't agree. That's not the time to head to the hills. This is the time to come together. Yes. To stand strong together, right? I mean, the classic thing that Satan does is divide and conquer, right? So when we stay together, we're stronger. But when we divide ourselves and we don't come together, we don't have community, then we're much weaker, and we can be picked off much simpler. And it's not only just that you have a group of Shimeonites over here who are just getting together. We're just going to kind of do our own thing and just hang out by ourselves. No, right. That's not how it worked. You were to go to God, but you were to go through the Levites, right? They were to be that intermediary who were to hear from God and then to pass that on to the people. And when the people had an issue, they would bring it to the Levite, who would then take it to God. That was the point. It's not to say that people couldn't have a personal relationship with God. Clearly, King David had an amazing relationship with God, but that did not authorize him to subvert or to go around what God had given the Levites, right? So they still had their place in the society. And we see in a number of places where King Hezekiah and others sent the Levites out to teach the people, right? So that was part of their job, was to then spread the teaching of God's word. Now, today we have the internet and we have our apps on our phones and we've got a bunch of Bibles in our house. And that's all good, right? We should all be studying those things. But still, there is a need for community. There's a need for leaders, mentors, because nobody's an island unto themselves. And, so we need that camaraderie. We need the fellowship. We need the brotherhood, the sisterhood to come together and to talk about these things in community. So beautiful chapter, really speaking.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, Doug. And the thing, as I read through this portion, the thing that really stuck in my mind was, if you're willing to be counted, right? Who doesn't want to be counted, right? Don't count me out. Now, if you're willing to be counted, then take the responsibility to be part of the community that you're counted in. If you're counted in as a body of Messiah, then be part of the body of Messiah in regular fellowship, in gathering together, in supporting the congregation, and not just financially, but by your presence, by your participation, by your servanthood, by your friendship, by your love. Be active. That's your responsibility.
Yeah, well said. And we are now in chapter 4. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, take a census of the children of the sons of Kohath from among the children of Levi, by their families, by their father's house, from 30 years old and above, even to 50 years old, all who enter the service to do the work in the tabernacle of meeting. This is the service of the sons of Kohath and the tabernacle of meeting relating to the most holy things. When the camp prepares to journey, Aaron and his sons shall come, and they shall take down the covering veil and cover the ark of the testimony with it. Then they shall put on it a covering of badger skins, and spread over that a cloth entirely of blue, and they shall insert its poles. On the table of showbread they shall spread a blue cloth, and put on it the dishes, the pans, the bowls, and the pitchers for pouring, and the showbread shall be on it. They shall spread over them a scarlet cloth, and cover the same with a covering of badger skins, and they shall insert its poles. And they shall take a blue cloth, and cover the lampstand of the light with its lamps, its wick trimmers, its trays, and all its oil vessels, with which they service it. Then they shall put it with all its utensils in a covering of badger skins, and put it on a carrying beam. Over the golden altar they shall spread a blue cloth, and cover it with a covering of badger skins, and they shall insert its poles. Then they shall take all the utensils of service with which they minister in the sanctuary, put them in a blue cloth, cover them with a covering of badger skins, and put them on a carrying beam. Also they shall take away the ashes from the altar, and spread a purple cloth over it. They shall put on it all its implements with which they minister there, the fire pans, the forks, the shovels, the basins, and all the utensils of the altar, and they shall spread on it a covering of badger skins, and insert its poles. And when Aaron and his sons have finished covering the sanctuary and all the furnishings of the sanctuary, when the camp is set to go, then the sons of Kohath shall come to carry them, but they shall not touch any holy thing, lest they die. These are the things in the tabernacle of meeting which the sons of Kohath are to carry. The appointed duty of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, is the oil for the light, the sweet incense, the daily grain offering, the anointing oil, the oversight of all the tabernacle, of all that is in it, with the sanctuary and its furnishings. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, do not cut off the tribe of the families of the Kohathites from among the Levites, but do this in regard to them, that they may live and not die. When they approach the most holy things, Aaron and his sons shall go in and appoint each of them to his service and his task. But they shall not go in to watch while the holy things are being covered, lest they die. Fascinating. The Kohathites, right? So you only get to do this job if you're between 30 and 50. So it's not just, the most supple young bucks, right? But it's, you think, okay, if you're 24, 25, right, or you're 26 when you're kind of at your physical prime, something like that, then you can do this job because it's really hard carrying. There's something else going on here. I get a sense that it has something to do with maturity, right? There's some type of maturity at the age of 30. And then maybe by 50, you do have to carry this thing. So, there is some physical labor going on here. And so God's like, okay, you do it for 20 years and then you're done. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I thought that was it's a very interesting age range. I'm still waiting to get to my physical prime.
Yes.
I'm disappointed year after year. It's not getting any better.
And when you were 26, you're like, I'm sure it's next year, right?
Oh yeah. I'm shooting for next year.
Then you're like, wait, I'm going back. What happened?
But yeah, it really is. I have a sense that maturity has something to do with it. I know when I hit my 30s, I really felt like I was entering into a really good years of my life in terms of my career, my marriage, developing a family, focused and attentive to everything that was going on. And maybe it did last till I was 50. I like to think it lasted a little bit longer than that. But yeah, maybe that's where the physical part starts to break down. And now you're moving on to, some of these other aspects of life where you could take those 20 years of really good, hard service. You've gained a lot of experience and wisdom. And now you can, share some of that without the physical demands, and by and large, your family is well on its way as well. So that was I was going to ask you what your thoughts were on that, but you shared those, and yeah, it's a really interesting aspect of the Kohite workload.
And I really appreciate that, God's giving everybody a job. It's not just one group that gets to do something, and it's not that any one person is more important, right? Every job is important. Some have a priority as far as there's only one high priest, at a time. And then, and so that person has to do their part, but they can't do their part if the Kohatites don't do their part, right? If they don't carry this thing, then the high priest can't do his thing. And if the Levites don't do their part in the temple and the work of the temple, then the high priest can't do his thing, And so what we're seeing is it takes a community, right? It really does take a community to make all of this happen. And it's so interesting, Gary, because, we know that God could just snap his fingers and just make everything levitate and everything could happen. But that's not his MO. He just doesn't work that way 99.99999% of the time, except for things like creating the heavens and earth and that kind of stuff. But, and I always think about when, my kids, when they were young, like really young, they really had to help me make pancakes, so they're like, 1.5, 2, 3 years old, something like that. Right. And, so I'm making pancakes and they had to be up on the counter and they were helping Daddy. It did not help at all. It made the process go slower by a long shot. Okay. But you know what? I wasn't doing it because I needed their help. I let them help because it was fun, because I really enjoyed their company and it was so cute, and to just watch them and how they helped me. It was just delightful to have my little kids, quote unquote, help me, and, so it's not quite the same situation, right? The Levites and the Kohatites, they're doing real work, but God doesn't need them in the sense that he can't do the work, right? He could do the work. There's no question about it, but that's not the point. The point is that he wants us to grow in our relationship with him. And if he does everything, then you don't grow. This is kind of the snowplow parent, right? Where you just snowplow everything and then your kid can just walk behind you, never having to work a day in his life because you've already done everything, or the helicopter parent, or whatever, thing we're up to nowadays. But, that parent that does everything so their kids don't have to face any kind of hardships. And yet that's not how God does it, because he wants us to grow. And there's so much wisdom gained when we go through just, the ups and downs of life, when we have to work and sweat and, do things that are sometimes very unpleasant. And, even as you're talking about, the community and that we need to get involved, like, this is part of it, right? I think sometimes we've gone this wrong direction where, well, the pastor just does everything, well, that should not be the model. So look, I'm a pastor. I work hard. I do a lot. I enjoy what I do, but I can't do everything. Goodness, you don't want me doing everything. You don't want Gary doing everything, right? Because this is a group effort. We're here together, and just like the Israelites could take the land together, so too, we can take the land insofar as making disciples and spreading the good news of God's kingdom. We're to do this together. It's not to be, that solo guy out there who's doing it all by himself. That's not the model that God's given us, is that we're to work together for this greater goal. And, the Levites and the sons of Aaron and the Kohathites, they're at the center of this, in that they have this very special role to be the people that are going to help others know about God and his commandments and what he said to do here and don't do that over there, and all these things, so that life will go well, and so that they can go into the promised land and they can live in the promised land and they can enjoy the promised land. Because ultimately, when they do that, they're enjoying God. And sadly, we know that over time, their sense of responsibility broke down, right? Because they were not fulfilling their obligations. And, we see this in the latter prophets. They start talking about how, the priests are not doing their job. The book of Malachi goes on and he talks about, you priests aren't doing your job. I'm like, what do you mean we're not? And he's like, well, look, you're doing this, you're not doing that. And so, they failed. And then everybody suffered when the Levites, et cetera, were not doing their job.
Yep, that's so true, so true. And I love the story about your kids. And I try to get into their minds, and it's like, my desire is to help. My desire is to be close and be part of it and bring my best. And man, it's like our desire should be to come and serve the Father, to work with him, to in our own way make the grow the kingdom. And again, he doesn't need our help, but he desires it, and we desire to help. That's just a beautiful picture. I love that. I'm going to go make some pancakes.
Well said. Well, brother, it was a good time. Everyone, thank you for joining us. We see you guys out there. Shemin, Ruth, Rhonda, Christy.
Hey, Rhonda.
Yeah. Tanzi, we see you guys. Elizabeth, Jay Jones. That's really awesome to have you guys with us. We're so glad that we can do this together. And, if you could hit the like button, subscribe, post this out on your social media just to get it out there so that others can enjoy this incredible study through God's word as well.
Yeah, if you can, join us in the park, May 23rd, O'Kane Park for Shavuot. This is the 39th day of the Omer. So we're counting up, almost there. It's we're talking about the book of counting, right? And then just before we leave, just keep Israel in prayer. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, it's a very difficult time over there with rockets being launched and just lives being lost. And keep, pray for the peace of Jerusalem always.
Amen. Amen. God bless you.